Welcome to the first episode, the Maiden Voyage. We have a mission here, a simple one, to demystify data, expose the gap between public perception and reality, and empower individuals by making complex data topics relevant to their daily lives. I'm the host, Jake Sanders, with Jay Mandel, Michael Munson from the Clean Data Alliance, and Nathan Taylor from Election Truth Alliance. Data, for those who might be across the pond.
I'm going to say both. I'll say data and data.
Nathan, what do you say?
Listen, I have a bad track record for saying the names of things correctly, so I will flip-flop most of the time.
What is data? Go.
It's not 2025. I have a little bit of an awakening about what it is and what it isn't. And in fact, the dictionary definition of data is actually wrong. Wrong.
Wrong?
No. Did you get data on that? Okay,
It's
keep
just
going.
so much, and I think that's probably the root cause of all the issues that we see with data, is that it's conflated with information when it's not really information. And I think that's the root cause of a lot of problems.
That's probably a great realization to have at the root level. What do we mean by this word? Need to ask ourselves more of these questions. Jay, you have a follow-up here.
I do have a follow-up.
It's information, it's data. What is it?
No, it's not information. It's data. Data is at the bottom of the pyramid. And that's the bottom. That's the foundational. That's bits that are unrelated. Information is when you start to connect some dots. When you connect even more dots, we're talking about insight. But insight isn't that valuable until you use it. And when you're able to use it, it could become wisdom or a recommendation. And wisdom is something that you're able to apply to a situation. Now I am applying it to this situation, and it will help me do that.
So Nathan, add on it.
Yeah, excellent points where my background was cybersecurity and now getting into looking at elections and looking at election data. Absolutely agree that there is a disconnect between data and information or outcomes and actions. So one of the things where I'm finding as I deal with voting data is we're asking the question, is that data reality, right? Or is it who controls the data, who counts the data, and then makes decisions based on the data? One of the things we're focused on as we dive deeper is the source of the data, because as Jay said, you may have good data, you may have bad data, and the information or the results you build from it are based on, is it good, is it not, and can you prove it? And that's, as we get into elections and looking at verifying elections, we're asking that question. Can we trust the data as we go forward, and how can we verify it if not?
Everything that you do can be tracked and cataloged and become data.
What do you mean?
Watching a YouTube video, it was called something like how the company that killed football, and it was referring to European soccer, as we in the ethnocentric states call it. And they're talking about these companies that have started collecting data points on soccer matches. And basically one game could create 1 billion data points. And all things based on who's possessing a ball, where is the ball on the field, where is it shot from, what the time is of the game, who's on the field. And then they have, everyone wears the GPS tracking devices, so everyone knows how fast the players are running. They have some way of understanding like their heart rate, so they can look at data on the sidelines and they can see who's getting tired before it's actually affected their play, so they'll know who to substitute. It's everywhere.
Well, you bring up a good point about sports. It seems like that is a great analog for us understanding data at an individual level, and sports booking has unlocked a lot of amateur data analysts. Nathan, speak on that, the level of data awareness. And Michael, you mentioned a really good thing about analytics being forced on us with social media, all of those like buttons and digital interfaces. It seems like we've accepted data capture, but it's sort of been subsumed. I just don't think people realize this. Or have we become more data weird because of analytics being shoved in our face? Nathan, what do you think?
I definitely think there is a huge gap between what people understand about our personal privacy online and the data collected about people. A lot of people don't even realize how social media collects data about you. And the disconnect is growing because we don't actually know what's happening with that data. And one of the concerns with the security cameras that are all over the US watching and monitoring people, and you can potentially access them online with little actual security around them. And now I've got access to collecting data on people. I know what you're doing. I know what you're up to. I know what you like to do. It's a concern because if bad actors could collect that data, there's risk. And I think that's the word of the day for me. Cybersecurity or elections, it's all about risk. How can you prevent? How can you mitigate risk? And how can we actually know what's happening with our data once it leaves us?
Not all data is created equally. These companies are collecting keystrokes, they're collecting size, they're collecting things that may or may not be able to be interpreted by machines to give you an accurate reflection on what the person is believing, thinking, feeling. And so just because I'm walking into the Whole Foods doesn't mean I was going to buy groceries. Assumptions are made based on that data.
Wow. And those risks, I think, come from an awareness.
He was telling me about how the city that he lives in installed a bunch of surveillance cameras. And the company, I don't know the name of the company, but the company, city for free. So the city was like, well, of course we're going to do it if it's free, right? And they say like, oh, you can sell from this or that. And I know Nathan is very familiar with the security apparatus always saying that, oh, well, you'll protect yourself if you allow this surveillance. And it's like, so he was saying that we didn't like this. And because it's still publicly available, they were able to go onto some website and see the information that was being tracked. And they saw that they knew exactly when they were leaving their house. So they were like, well, if a burglar wants to go on some people finder site and they can go look up our car registration and find our license plate number, they can just go look at the publicly available website and see, oh, they're not home now. Are you kidding me? Like,
I just wrote an article for the Clean Data Alliance about the sophistication of scams. And a lot of this is getting a lot more brazen, where it's not like we're going to send you something in broken English and rely on you being foolish in order to scam you. We're going to connect with you in a meaningful way on a platform you trust through a person you know. And how do they do that? They do that by publicly available data.
With the security cameras and with monitoring, the concern, as you said, is absolutely you don't know who's accessing it. You don't know what's being collected. There's no regulation. There's no security. The risk is high. When we automate things, when we use data to make decisions, we use data to make information. The problem we're relying on is those cameras, for example, they can pull your license plate. They can see when you drive by in your car and detect and read your license plate. That's one of their features. And they log where that license plate, where that vehicle travels. They can do facial recognition and try and make a profile of you or match a profile. And it really brings the question up, well, if for some reason the system is wrong, if the data is wrong, who's actually checking? Who's actually verifying? Or do you get caught in that situation where you're getting blamed for things and you are now defending yourself and your hands are tied? The system is tied.
Excellent lead into the next question, because all of those license plates, all of that data, we are amassing massive amounts of data. We just suck it up. What do we do with it? How, if the data is so big, what does data quality matter? Like, it's actually it's just quantity driven. What does quality matter here? So, like, how does bad data affect bad interpretations of data we just talked about? Bad data affect people?
I'm
What's
going
the
to
thought
step
there?
in. Just think about how often you're followed around the internet for some product that you browsed on for someone else, or someone is making an assumption about something you would want or need that you really could care less about. Some data broker sold some information about you. Jake, I'm going to turn it on you. You bought some data from a data broker. What happened? How accurate was that?
Well, I took it upon myself. I was like, if Experian or Axiom or these people, these data brokers, if they have information on me, I can get it. And so I went and got it. And then weeks passed. And I did a bunch of dancing for them. They were like, is this really you? Did you ever live here? Do you really? Is this you? And I was like, yeah. Weeks later, I get it. The PDF is completely off. All of what they thought I wasn't who I was. I'm a golf enthusiast. I don't play
What?
golf.
You're not a
They
golf
think they
enthusiast.
think I love high-end spirits. I haven't touched alcohol in 12 years. And then I put it up and I was like, if Experian has this data on me and it's of this bad quality, what are you paying for, digital advertisers? Nathan just told me I can track a car. I know when people are leaving their house. You're telling me I can't serve an ad to these people? Like, yes, I can, of course. No, because the data layer is so bad quality, it's like dog food. And it's sold as grandma's meatloaf. And then I started finding out there's a whole secondary dark economy built around data that is of varying quality, of questionable sources and acquisition strategies.
We were speaking
Thank
with our advisors, and she was basically saying that to look at their company operations, and they, in her opinion, they don't see marketing as all that big of a deal in relation to what the company is doing overall, and the fact that they're dealing with um, a lot of fraud and bad data in their decision making, it doesn't really register for them. It's not something that they're going to say, yes, we need to make sure that we're getting better data. They're just going along with the motions and they're making their sales. I mean, just suspend your ads for 2 months. Are you going to have any change in your sales? And so if you're just spend it and you're selling what you're selling, and then the guy that was saying that brands don't matter. Well, I don't necessarily agree, but the whole segmentation, like it doesn't mean anything, and it's all about distribution.
You talk about Dale Harrison. Jump in, Nathan, because it smacks of risk and security a
Well,
bit.
as Michael was saying, as Jay was saying, really, and we kind of said it in the beginning, but I don't think people realize we don't hammer it home. Is data is reality. The information on data is reality, and we perceive today in our digital world anything we see online. That's how we perceive our world. You can go talk to people, but a lot of what we know, the day-to-day events, is based on information built on data. As you said, Michael, a lot of business practices, marketing, online influence campaigns, they're all built on that information that is collected with the data. As we've dug deeper in the Election Truth Alliance, is looking at the voting data, but also looking at the polling data. And you kind of ask the question, why does data quality matter? Really, data quality matters because if you can't guarantee that data is accurate, if you can't show and verify that that is based on reality and not just the perception of reality, then how can you make decisions based off of it? Right? The things we're starting to find now as we look at polling data, or depending on who's giving you that polling data, whose polls, the results will change. We're now starting to ask the question, which a lot of people are uncomfortable about, is could you manipulate data for your own means? Could you change the data? Could you make your own information and use that and tell people, here's what I want reality to be, like on social media, with polls, like with other pieces of information. And if I have no way to verify that, how would you know?
Oh gosh, I love that.
That I'm just going to give a shout out to the Marketing Accountability Council. We've referenced it a couple times, but we've talked about people publishing studies and making it appear that they come from Harvard Business Review and not citing where the information came from, and then They publish it, and then the AI doesn't know the difference between that and a
Paid.
scientifically vetted paper. And that's a real shame. And the other thing is it's a polarized world, and there are vested interests in doing research to prove points. And if you're starting your research process by saying, I want to prove that global warming is not real or global warming is real, that's when you go up the data pyramid and you go data, insight, and recommendations. There's a lot of interpretation. There are certain things that are black and white. I personally believe that global warming is real, but I think that there are probably a lot of people that could come up with a case for why it isn't real and back it
That's
up with
wonderful.
data, right?
Well said. Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, I think Nathan hit on it. I wanted to ask everybody if there's like a Joe or Jane average person out there, and they were like, you saw them crying or something in a train station, and they're like, I just don't get data. They're really upset. And you're like, Data, do you need me to kind of like, I have a train to catch, but let me leave you with this one thing about data. I think Nathan's thing is data is reality, but it is open to fabrication, manipulation. Maybe, you need to
Interpretation.
accept it for a bit of it isn't reality, but it could be made into it. Or we do accept it as such. Tell me that one thing, by the way, I gotta go, thing about data that you would want this average person who has none of your expertise.
I just say I would be more suspect as we go forward, right? With who is giving you that data, who's giving you that information, and is it reality, and can you back it up? And especially today in our digital age, you go online and you got to find three sources for any one thing. So that's the main thing is as we go forward, can we trust the data? Can we verify it? And that's a problem that is growing.
And I think people's awareness of it is growing. I started at the beginning, I was like, people don't know what data is. Oh boy, they're very quickly becoming aware of how it shapes reality. So thank you. Michael, you got to go catch a train. Somebody's crying about data. What's your piece of advice to this person to help them ground
Uh,
and get a sense of it?
there's no easy answer. There's no silver bullet, but I would say sort of along the lines of what Nathan said, think more about what you're doing when you put authorized information
Hmm.
to be collected from you. Think about what that could be doing. When you're hearing someone make a claim, that think about what their motivations might be to make those claims. Um, but the most important thing is to realize that our entire society has been built on a flimsy data foundation, and we need to do serious work to build a
Hmm.
replacement data foundation. So be open to ideas that are going to challenge the existing data paradigm and change it to something that is moving from a surveillance data capture paradigm to a personal data ownership, sovereignty, and control paradigm.
And the trust would only go up from there because it's coming from the source. Consider the source. If you know you're the source, there's something powerful there. Great.
That's part of
Okay.
the
But that
problem.
was too long. They already left. And okay. Jay.
Well,
Oh,
It's
hold
I mean,
on.
complex.
Stay here.
glad I went, I'm going last because I think that it comes down to think about it like a tree, like the roots of a tree and how deep roots go. When you see the sidewalk start to buckle, that's the roots saying something. And if you have the curiosity to get to the root of where this data is coming from and how it was sourced and how it was collected, you'll get to the truth. And the truth is your truth, right? There is no universal truth.
Mm, talk about that. The movable
I
truth.
mean, in this world, I've been thinking about this, and I've talked with all of you about this topic multiple times, and I just don't know what is real. What is the only thing I know is real is what I know is real.
Let me just end it on this. I believe that reality is shared. We make it by sharing it. And by being here, we're showing what reality can be. It's a conversation with somebody, it's a question that you might have, and then it's a curiosity for your own processes and your own thinking. This is the first episode. There will be many more, but data for good, data for all. You're signing off for this episode. I want to thank you all, and we'll catch you on the next one.